Worship for play instruments or whatever it might be, we're to use that to honor God. Friends, it expands past music, it expands past singing, it expands past all that things. Friends, if we are using the gifts that God has given us for our own selfish gain and ambition, I believe that we're using them for the wrong things. But if we're using the gifts that God has given us in the way that God would have us do, we will be using it as an act of worship of God. And I love watching some of the pro teams. It's all across the board. There are players who immediately give credit to God in the post-game interviews, right? I love that. First, let me give God all the glory. I love hearing those words. Because to me, not only does it remind them, but it reminds everyone who's listening to that post-game interview the reason they have the gifts that they do and the reason they are so good at what they do is because of God. I wonder what would happen if we took a cue from some of those players and did that in our own lives. I wonder what would happen, and I've never done this, so I couldn't tell you what's going to happen. I wonder what would happen if when I introduced myself, I would say, hey, first I want to let you know that I want to give God all the glory for this conversation that's about to happen, and my name is Matt. I wonder what would happen. I don't know, friends, but I want to look at my life and I want to change things in my life that cause me to want to worship God and put God first in everything that I do. Because that is the whole idea of worship is to take who we are and connect with this God who sometimes seems so far away, but friends, is so near to us that he actually abides in our hearts. God is not some kid with a magnifying glass burning all the ants down here. God is a God who is so near and dear to us that he lives in our hearts, loves us beyond anything we could ever imagine, and wants the best for us in this life. Wants to be there for us when we fall, help us to get back up again. Wants to forgive us of the things that we've done in our past, that we might be a new creation in him. And wants us to tell the world about it. However big or small your world is. So I said I would encourage you to tell someone about how good God is this week. About something good that God has done in your life, whether it was yesterday or 10 years ago and you've never told anybody. I'm going to encourage you to do that. And then when you realize how awesome that was by giving God glory and credit for all those good things, tell somebody else. And may it continue through the rest of your life. And so this year, as we gather in worship, the next few weeks of this year, I hope that we'll think about making worship the central part of who we are as Christians. That when we gather here once a week for worship of God, that we'll take this worship with us in everything that we do. And that we put God first in our lives. And everything falls underneath that.